Hello. So I am going to make a preferment, and that is for a poolish. So I'm making a different style of bread. I'm going to make a white bread with poolish. So is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 50% of my total weight in bread, and I'm going to make a ferment out of it. And I have to start that tonight, and that will proceed in the morning with the rest of the dough. So yesterday I did it. I had some problems. It was my first time doing it. This is the dough. I did not flour the proofing baskets, and therefore they stuck really bad. They flattened and all the things. However, it tastes delicious. So they smell wonderful. I mean, really it looks beautiful. So I'm gonna try again. I was at a market this weekend and I found some different flowers. So I found these Polish flowers, okay? And I don't know anything about them. I started to do a little bit of research and found out, so they're a soft wheat flour. All of them are different, and I'm not quite sure how. Yesterday, the loaves that I just showed you were made from this flour. I will do a post, follow-up, that will talk about these flowers and the different kinds of them and what they are. So today I have to choose another one. So I guess I'm gonna kind of hold off on these two over here. I know that these are grinds. I'm just not sure. I wanna do a little more research before I mess with those flowers. So I'm gonna pick a different one over here. I think that for the next one, I'm gonna go with this red bag here. So I'm getting some light here. These are Polish flowers, so we will use that one, and pardon me while I set the camera back up. All right, great. So for everything, we weigh everything. I do everything in metric and with the scale. So we're gonna do equal parts. So it's gonna be equal parts water, equal parts flour. We're gonna do 500 grams of flour. This flour is very, very, very interesting. I might not use it, so I might pick a different one. It's really different. I'm gonna hold off on using this one. I'm gonna look at a different one. So let me just go back over there again and let's see what we have. All right, so, that's really fascinating. It is the grind. I mean, almost like a corn mill. I'm not sure. It's fascinating. Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on that for just right now. And I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. So we'll try this purple bag. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna set the camera back up again. All right, so let's try this one. It just is, it's a different kind of grind, and I'm a little unfamiliar with it. This is much better. So this is what I was expecting. Okay, so I can work with this. Okay, so like I said, so we're gonna weigh out 500 grams of flour. All right, so the bag weighs roughly 1,000 grams, so it should cover all of it, but yesterday I did have some issues. I was about 4 grams short, so I just substitute a little bit AP flour that I have. So we have 500 grams of flour. We are going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of commercial yeast to it. So you could weigh it out, it's like 0.3 grams, but I think that the teaspoon method is just fine for yeast. So I'm just gonna kind of scatter it over the top there. And then I'm gonna weigh out my water. So water temperature with the dough is extremely important. I look at it as I've been told as as one of the ingredients. So we want to make sure that our water is exactly 80 degrees. So it takes a minute to get the water to exactly 80 degrees, and I just use tap water. So I'm just going to get tap water and put it into a little cup, and I'm going to weigh it out into here. It's important that you weigh it out separately and not just into there, so that there are no issues with over watering this, because that will disable the fermenting from happening. So I have many thermometers, but this is just a pretty standard one, digital, no big deal. All right, great. So I always make sure it's just a slightly hotter than the temperature I want, because it comes down in the process of all of this. It has been extremely hot, so I'm okay with it even being a little cooler than 80 degrees. So 500 grams of water. All right, and I'm just slightly over, so I'm gonna dump. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna incorporate all of it together. And I'm just going to do that with my hand. I'm going to make sure that it's not lumpy at all, that everything is well incorporated. I like to use my hands. I believe that you can learn a lot more if you actually feel the dough and what you're doing. With this, you have to use, you could use a little paddle, like a little pastry paddle. I have plenty of them. try to make sure I also don't have any jewelry on. There's lots of reasons. One, it's just kind of gross for your jewelry, but two, your jewelry carries a lot of bacteria and germs that you honestly just don't really think about. So, this dough is already, or this flour is already a lot different than yesterday. I'm going to see what the protein content is in it. It feels a little higher. Yesterday, the protein content in the flour was 11.5%. But this feels really nice. So is what's gonna happen is this is going to sit out on the counter all night and do its thing, get all bubbly, and have the yeast feed. See again why I like using my hands, because I could feel some weird clumps on the bottom that shouldn't be there, so I can get those off. All right. All right, so looks beautiful. It's gonna be like this. But as you can see, we're already starting to get some little tiny bubbles in there, which is what we want. So I'm gonna put a thin cover of plastic wrap on this. I am trying to find ways to not use plastic wrap. So I'm looking for alternatives right now, coverings and things like that. I was hoping to not have to buy new bowls. So yeah, so if anybody even has any suggestions, that would be wonderful. But for the time being, I'm just gonna put a little bit of plastic wrap over the top of this. And before I do that, I do want to take the temperature again. So I really want this to be about 70 degrees. Yesterday, my dough temperature, or the ferment temperature, was really warm, and all right. So it's about 80 degrees still, which makes sense because it just came off of because I just put that warm water in there. So, but that's good. It's gone down about 10 degrees. Normally I would put it in the oven, but because of how hot and humid it is, I'm going to leave it on the counter. I've got the air conditioning on, and that's set at 75, 76 degrees. So that's still quite, you know, warmer than what we consider room temperature. So like I said earlier, this is a pre-ferment, which is going to be considered our poolish. So we're going to add this to 500 grams of flour tomorrow morning after about 12 to 14 hours of fermentation on the counter, with 250 grams of water that's about 100 degrees. Like I said, I'm gonna go a little bit cooler, 90, 95 tomorrow, because it has been really warm and the dough's been kind of hard to work with. We're gonna add 21 grams of salt to it and another 3 grams of yeast. And tomorrow I will weigh out the yeast. So this is something new for me. I have been predominantly working with sourdough and wild yeast starters. I am working with commercial yeast right now, which serves its purpose as well and is very beneficial and really great too. So join me on this really crazy little cool journey with our Polish flours and yeah, we'll see what kind of bread we can make tomorrow. So thank you for watching. Cheers.